Alrighty, here we go. We're going to be forming the eyes on the 12th pleat down from the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It should also be the pleat that runs into this sort of top part of this heart shape here, this corner here. So I'm going to go ahead and fold all down like that and just mark out where that's going to be. Alright, now what we need to do is along that line we're going to make a reference point that's the very center vertical pleat and that pleat there. Mark that out. We're going to move through both our halves here, so 1 half, 2 half, that's one whole space, and then through one more space. So that's a distance of 2 if our unit of measurement is one of these boxes. Okay, so move 2 out from the center, and we're going to start to make some diagonals, some diamonds that go through 1, 2 boxes, down 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then you're going to make one that's right next to that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's what that looks like here. This is your very center line. You go over these 2 halves and through one more, and the distance across this diamond is 4. Across this is 4. And the sides travel diagonally through 2 boxes. Okay? And you need to repeat that on the other side. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so we've got boxes. We've got diamonds on both sides, 2 on each side. And you want to mountain fold those. These middle ones just go all the way through 4, like an X. Just make creases there, pre-folds so that we can pleat those down. Same on the other side. Now where the tops of these diamond shapes are, the creases that run on the top and the bottom of those, you want to reverse fold into mountain folds all the way up to the corners of those diamond shapes. Okay. Like that. Now, if you fold the paper along that 12th crease from the top, the paper may already start to go along with you on this, but we're just going to there we go, collapse these down like so. Okay, and on the other side, make sure all those flat, and collapse these down. Okay, so we've got this going on right now. Alright, and now what you want to do is push this flap this way and this flap this way, and on the back push this flap this way and this flap this way on both sides, and the folded edges should touch in the middle there on the front and the back. So take a moment to really adjust all these flaps and make sure that everything is lying down flat on the front and the back, and that all of this here is pushed together as far as you can make it go like that. Okay, now what we're going to do, using the center of these new raised pleats as a reference, we're going to fold these folded edges We're going to make a bisection here by bringing this folded edge to the center and make a crease through all the layers on this top pleat here, like so. You take this, move it over so that those folded edges are up and down like that. Okay? Kind of like if you were making a paper airplane and you were narrowing the nose. Just like that. Okay? And you're going to repeat this all the way through. The bottom of these diagonals should touch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not quite to the 5th line. The 5th pleat down. Okay, so this line here, they don't quite come to there. They're just a little bit off from that. And you should try to get all those to look as similar as you can. Like this one's riding a little high. I know maybe it's a little off. Depends on the thickness of your paper and how it's cooperating with you. But it should be about like that. And then turn the paper over and do the same thing on the other side to these pleats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know this needs to be down a little bit more. Not quite to the bottom, but that looks good. There we are. And finally, like so. Okay, so it should look like this on the front and the back. And what we're going to do now, press those down firmly, and then we want to release those. Open our paper back up gently like that. And we're going to sink fold along the creases we've just made. You should have these sort of V shapes here. Long edge, and then it comes down here, bisecting this line and this line here. So you want to mountain fold all the way along those V shapes that you've just made. And then you should then be able to sink fold those down. It's going to be a little bit tricky to get all these. One technique you can use is that since they are, just because of the way they're folded, you can do this. You can take and mountain fold the longer set on one side and then the shorter set on the other, and then press down like this. See how there's the shallower one here and then the longer one there, but it still comes together and lies flat, and then go back the other way. That's one easier way to go about pressing down and making sure that all these mountain folds are pre-folded the correct way. Okay, like that. So now we should be able to, these all are mountain folds, and then the V that comes down in the middle is a valley. And if you do that on both sides, you'll be able to press this down, sink fold it, and the shape should look like this. So you've narrowed this part here. Okay, and you want to do that to all of them. Here we are, we've got all those sinks folded down. What we need to do now is spread these back apart in the front and back like we had it in the beginning. And we are going to, these pleats are 4 across. We're going to bring this folded edge to the center. Okay, like that. And then pinch down right there. Everything else is already folded right there. You just need to create this shape right here. So we can sink down these. So we're going to fold along these edges and sink down the center of all of these pleats. It's a little tricky because there's a lot of folds happening right here, but essentially what you want is for the paper to not fight you too much, but sink down so that it looks like similar to this. Okay? So that's what all your pleats are going to end up looking like here. So when you lay them down, you can see that this one, the pleat is only one wide on this side. There's two. So when we sink this down into there, it's only going to be two across. So keep doing that along the whole model. Create these creases so that you'd be able to make these little sink folds like that. Okay, so you can see the difference comparing the two. These edges used to touch each other, now they don't. This one's 2 across, this one's 4 across, because we're narrowing this. So just fold these down to create those creases in the center and reverse fold them. The more patience you fold this model with, the cleaner it'll end up looking. Practice with a larger piece of paper first, and then when you get good at it, use a smaller piece of foiled paper maybe. Foil works really good because it helps hold the shape better. When we get done with this model, you're going to notice that the wings kind of stick out a little bit, and on a real fruit fly they lie like flat out past the back of the body. And with foil paper you'll be able to create that illusion a little more accurately. I like origami because it has a way of mimicking what life looks like. Sort of animals and insects and stuff and plants have these physical limitations to them based on chemistry and physics. Like a giraffe has a really long neck, and there are anomalies like that in the natural world, but there's sort of limitations set on how an organism can look. And when you try to represent life with a piece of paper, it has its own limitations. First of all, you're using a sheet of paper to try to create that illusion. And if it's a square, which I like to design with because I think that's the most authentic form of origami, although I do like other starting shapes as well, I only design with squares. And I think when you set that kind of limitation, you can't really create something that looks exactly like a bunny rabbit or a koala bear or whatever. But you get something that reminds someone who's seeing one of those animals of that by proportionally representing it. And that's what I think is really cool about designing animals, particularly fantasy animals or creatures that were created by someone else's imagination, because they're already subject to interpretation. Okay, that's enough of my rambling. What we're going to do now that we have all of these thinned down is this here. We're going to reverse fold this, open up a little bit here, and you're going to keep the innermost creases, but this one that's straight up and down on either side, you're going to open that out and then push down here and reverse fold in between these two creases and sort of push the tip of that Well, let me get this going again. Push the tip of that down into this corner, and if you kind of hold here and then maybe use a shaping tool or whatever's lying around to kind of push all that back into there. So we've thinned down this like that, and do the same thing on the other side. Kind of open out here, leave these creases, but fold this down, push it all in like that. Okay. Now this next part's a little tricky. What we're going to do is reform that very center pleat. And there's no real easy way to do this. What you're going to have to do is sort of partially open the model just enough so that you can separate this out a little bit and then reform that very narrow little pleat in the middle. Take that one up across the edge and then pinch here and kick that part up. It's very delicate. There. Okay. And now push all this back together. Push it up from behind. Get everything situated back the way it should be, like this. Alright, that all is looking very nice. Okay. And in the next section here, we're going to collapse back down the abdomen. You can't form the eyes with the abdomen formed, and you can't form the abdomen with the eyes formed, so you have to pre-fold one and then undo it and redo the other one. You know, this is just the easiest way I've found to collapse this model down. So next we're going to reform the abdomen. I've just realized my fruit fly is eating a pencil. It's not a pencil fly, it's a fruit fly. Okay, so we've done all of our pre-folding. Now, just completed the eyes, and we're going to go back and do the abdomen. Don't forget that we ended last by reforming this tiny pleat that goes around the center of the model. Everything should look like this now. So, reform that pleat all the way to the edge, put these pleats in like that, and reform the abdomen pleats. It's going to go easier this time because everything has been pre-folded. I know it's like the third time I've said that. I'm worried people are going to be daunted by having to re-collapse this. But you'll see, if you're gentle and patient, it will collapse back down pretty easily. And it's good to fold along these wing edges here. Okay. It has taken literally forever for me to produce this video, and I apologize about that. My life's been pretty busy lately. You'll notice there's some changes to my channel. I did 12 models last year, and I would love to keep that pace going, but I think there's going to be some changes to my channel now. I'm going to do only one model every once in a while. Just work and family, and things get really busy, and I need to be focusing on other areas of my life. So I'm going to continue to bring you quality origami videos, but maybe one really good one once in a while rather than 12 a year. Alright, don't forget this tiny little pleat in the back here. I want to reform that. And then this back part of the thorax. Get that folded down like so. This was a huge project too. If you're watching this, you've been watching for over an hour now of me folding a piece of paper. Okay, so collapsed all this down, and what we want to do now is get these folds going. Reform those. The other side as well. It's a little tricky. We're on the final step here well, I shouldn't say that. If we're, sometimes this kind of model is called 3-step. We're on step 2, meaning we've done all our pre-folding and now we're collapsing the model, which can be tricky. Okay, so we've got that here. It's tricky because this is in your way when you want to go in and push up from behind. So just kind of find creative ways to move that inside paper around out of your way. But you need to reform. I'm not doing anything new here. I'm just, once you get to this point, you can kind of push and that paper will slide out from the butt of the fruit fly. Yeah. So here we go. This is pushed down now. And we've got this crease happening here, which if we start to form this, we can start the creases for the other leg. And should go easily. Back out. These are all the pleats for the legs. Remember we did all of these in the first section there. It would be really hard to try and figure all this out if we waited until now to pre-crease this. So you should have creases for these diagonals already. And tricky to explain what I'm doing, but you're just following along where all of those creases were that we made for the legs as we collapse this down. So here, start this diagonal. So these are coming down like this. This gets pushed in like that. Okay, like that. And then this final V here, you want to spread apart the center pleat, keep it pleated here, but at the end we're going to try to get away with spreading that apart, which creates some extension for the leg there, and makes everything match up mathematically, so to speak. It's a little bit of a fudge, but it's folded down underneath the model later, so if you're following what I'm talking about, this gets a bit awkward here because this is not pleated and this is. Just kind of fold all the way down, all the way into the corner of where these two flaps for the legs come together in a V. Like that. And ignore the fact that it's not matching. Okay. We're doing now, the next place to go is to sort of push those in, those legs in like that. Make sure your eyes haven't become discombobulated. And then if we push here, you can kind of get the front of the thorax position so that we can hold it like that. Yeah, that's good. Now kind of make all of these flaps go back underneath the model in between the two wing flaps. Adjust these so that these can be put together. Reform these sunken corners like that. And like this. Okay. And now there's going to be a valley fold, 2 creases down, 2 spaces down, push that down over the head, and you should be able to push everything together now, like this. Okay. Yeah. Kind of smush it all down. So you've got, these are the front legs here that are sticking out the sides. These are the eyeballs. And these are the back sets of legs. Okay? And if you're good at origami, you could probably figure it out from here. We're going to bulge out the eyeballs next, which is pretty tricky, but keeping everything, you know, this is the base. This is, we're just shaping from this point because everything is collapsed. What we're going to do is kind of open the model up a little bit, and in between these bottom back set of legs, you're going to get something and kind of push into this area here and open up the eyeballs. Open up the eyeballs. That sounds gross. A pencil eraser works really good too. A technique here is to jam a piece of balled up tissue paper or cotton fuzz or something like that to hold this eyeball as a ball. You don't have to. When I design models, I try to design them so that they'll look cool without the aid of anything other than paper. Meaning no cuts or glue or whatever. Wet folding is cool, but my caveat to that is sort of like, if you can fold it and it looks cool without that stuff, then it's a finished model. And if you want to add that stuff later, that's kind of up to you. You can paint it for all I care. As long as you can create the model without the use of anything else, that's real origami. And if you want to add stuff to it, that's your business. So you can make this little stop sign shaped thing right there. And if you want to at this point, which I am, I'm going to go get some fuzz and put it into that. Alright, so what I'm going to use is a square of toilet paper. It's 2 ply, so I'm going to take one of the plies off and rip it in half down the center as best as I can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doing this, you want to make, if you're putting something into that area, you want to make them both at the same time so that you know they're exactly the same size. And when you ball these up, you can kind of feel, okay, those are similar size. Alright, and they're very kind of tiny. They're just about the same diameter as your eyeball. It doesn't have to be huge, but if it's too small, it's not worth putting in there. Just drop it down into that space that you've made, and then collapse everything back down around that. It takes a while to shape this. You just want it to look like an eyeball. It doesn't have to be the Taj Mahal of eyeballs. Just make it look pretty. Make it pretty! Man. There we go. Okay, so now you've got it. Tissue paper is in there. You kind of want to take this here, this flap here, and push it down a little bit, get it out of your way, and just shape this eyeball so that it kind of moves out to the side. Just push it a little bit, and these flaps and everything, so that it's looking out from the side there, you can see. And do the same thing to the other side. Take your pencil and poke it down inside the model into that area where this point is for the eye flap. I borrowed this technique from Lang too. Thanks, Lang. Yeah, he basically taught me how to fold origami with the book Origami Design Secrets, and somewhere in there he said something about how we all kind of borrow from each other, so I don't think anybody would mind that I'm using this technique to make eyeballs. That's just, there's only so many ways to make features with paper, and that's the way it is. It's kind of like the bases, fish and bird and kite and whatnot. I mean, where would we be if someone along the way said, no, you can't use those to create origami models? You know, these are sort of the new equivalent of those bases, the techniques to make these features, and you know, that's just the way it is. So if it bothers you, sorry about that. Maybe you can invent a new way to create origami eyeballs, and we'll all be very grateful to have that as a resource as well. But hopefully you're enjoying this. So we've got our 2 eyeballs now. Here we are. Let's see, we want to kind of start to form these legs up a bit. So this is all going to lie flat like this. Push all this together and get these legs pointing upwards. You can look at pictures of fruit flies to try and mimic how it stands. Right now we're getting the front legs pointed up. What you're going to do is, you see how it has this flap here? You're going to create diagonal creases here and here. Push this flap, this bit of end of the paper down along diagonal creases through the 2 boxes at the end, like that, so that we can then form little tarsal claws. Just by, we're getting into some of the shaping of the leg now, but you want to kind of press down, getting the paper to spread out on either side of one of these claws, like this. And then if you continue to press them down, there'll be a little lip that forms above them. Kind of push them into that, and then fold them down next to one another. And they won't be extremely long when you do it that way, but that's good because they're not supposed to be extremely. It's just kind of like these little hooks on the end of the arms. And we've got some segments here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I forget what they're called, the tarsus and the metatarsus and the femur and whatnot. So you can articulate the leg like it would be in a real fruit fly there. It might be clever next to position the wing back the way it's supposed to go. So again, pull that wing down, push up into that pyramid shape. Make sure all your pleats are going the right way first, and then push this into this crevice here. Isn't going my way. What's wrong here? These are all right. That's right. There we go. Okay. Anyway, maybe we can do that later. But yeah. All right. So that's going. This wing. This down. Push that up. And what it should do is make on the edge here this little sort of flap to hold down onto. Anyway, okay. What you want to do now is push the nose sort of area. So stick your finger into its face, inside, where its little buggy brain would be, and then flatten the front down like that, and you're going to notice that it wants to start to create 2 little points here. So mount and fold the edges there and create some ridges, and that's going to make it look like it has like some antenna like protrusions there, which the antennas for a fruit fly, there's some little nub things that happen there, and then there's some also sort of TV antenna looking wiry things, which are way too much detail to work into a model like this. But if you just kind of give it that suggestion there, these little ridges, that's good enough for our work. Okay, and these back legs as well, you can form claws. They're going to be sort of upside down, whereas this, the tops are folded edges. These, the tops are raw edges, but they're going to get folded in half anyway. So this one here looks like this, you're going to create another set of tarsal claws similarly like that. And then the back leg, what you do is you open this up, okay, open up there so that the end looks like that, and then you're going to press that in. So you've got these two flat flaps there, but then let's turn the model upside down so you can see what I'm doing better. Then if you okay, then if you put them to the side, they want to turn into this shape here, push it in. You're just pushing the excess paper down and making a valley fold so that then now you have 2 points like that. Let me show you again on the other foot. So you open, push that center pleat down, push this in, you're going to create 2 diagonal creases like that. Push it together, you've got these 2 flaps now. You spread these, it'll push that extra paper down so that you have creases that you can then form the same way we did the front legs. Here again, like so. And the last front leg that I forgot to do earlier, you just spread apart here and push this down diagonals on both sides and there. Okay, the wings are giving me a little bit of trouble, but what you want is for everything to cooperate. You get your wings. Oh, I see. I didn't put that far enough up. Okay, get that up, push this down, push it into the side there. And if you hold everything together, sort of, it works. This part's a little messy, just push it in there. Yeah, so it's kind of like that now, okay? We got this one over here, same dealie. Put it in there, on the side, okay. If the paper's thin, it won't give you this much problems. It's just there's so many pleats happening here, it's bothersome. Okay, so you can kind of see where you're going. We've got 2 eyes, little antenna things, thorax is on the top, the wings are happening out here, this is the abdomen. If you push these down and kind of push here and round this off on both sides, it gives it a nice 3-dimensional shape for the abdomen. You want to push in from the bottom, and this pleat that we made at the very beginning, if you push up, it's going to start to kind of separate a little bit along this area, and if you round out that crease, you can give it some height. Pull and push up like this and give it some height, and if you really spend your time shaping it, you know, make it look nice like a domed thorax. This is a little too high, but you get the gist of it. Okay, and really like thin down the legs by finding the center and squishing each side in half to thin them down. And then once those are flattened down, then push those sides together. Okay, and that's how you thin down all the legs. Do that all the way around. And these wings. Okay, so the last part is the wings. And if you've used 2-sided paper, again, they're going to be a different color. You take this top flap, and where it's sort of, you want to find that very last square and make a diagonal fold that goes from not quite the edge of there because it'll rip easily, but about the middle of that last box till this corner here. So diagonal, and push this back. Be careful because the paper will kind of rip on the edges of the diagonal. So like that. Okay, so we've got this now, and now we want to find this. Oh shoot. reach inside these two pleats and grab that and pull at it a little bit carefully, reverse folding, very careful, that top diagonal right here, and then make diagonals on the pleat above and below that extend all the way to the corner. So you've got sort of diagonal here, diagonal there, okay? And you do the same thing with the next section. You open in between here, there's another little sort of pleat that you can pull out like this, and just fold it down to that edge, and then round off the corner like that. Okay, and if you're patient and you shape all this really well, it's going to give you something that looks like this. All right, thank you everyone for watching. I have other models. Find Rickman Origami's Facebook page or Google Rickman Origami to find my other work. Like the video and subscribe to my channel. And if you fold this model, I'd love to see a picture of it. All right, thank you for watching everyone. Take care and have a beautiful day. Bzzz.